I'm joined here today by Natalie Brennan, who's Head of Property Transactions in Aviva and also a Senior Asset Manager. So Natalie has the benefit of seeing the office market from two different perspectives, the investment market or the investor demand and also the tenant or the occupier demand. So Natalie, let's start with the tenants. What kind of changes have you seen emerging in terms of tenant demand in recent times?
Yeah, so that's an interesting question. The average deal size is one way to gauge what tenants are looking for. However, other key points to focus on are location, design, specification and sustainability.
Okay, perfect. And then have we seen many changes in terms of the institutions that are looking at buying office stock here in Ireland? What kind of demand drivers do you see coming from those investors?
Yeah, so typically investors will look at the overall office landscape. So we'll consider the size of the Dublin office market, the annual take-up, the volume of requirements and development pipeline and the typical rental levels. Obviously, investors will have different return criteria, which will influence whether they acquire a core office investment or a value-add office investment. But generally speaking, both of them will consider location, a length of lease, quality of covenant, and quality of asset itself and the return of the investment. Sustainability is also a key focus. So research would suggest that around 4% of buildings in Dublin 1, 2 and 4 are finished to a Grade A+ standard. So this would highlight that there's a shortage of high quality sustainable buildings in the city centre. So for an investor seeking a high quality core investment opportunity, there is a limited choice. And for more value add investors, they will also need to factor in CapEx in order to ensure that the building achieves high quality sustainability targets.
Okay, perfect. And obviously we talk a lot about sustainability in terms of the property fund at the moment. Obviously it's been accredited Article 8 SFDR rating, which is fantastic. We're holding ourselves accountable to deliver that better quality stock. So while it might cost us more money to do so, what we can see is we're attracting better quality tenants, we can achieve higher rental levels, and all of that then feeds through into the capital value and ultimately the unit price for our customer. So Natalie, you mentioned there's various asset management strategies that we can implement for offices. So you mentioned core and value add. Could you maybe give us some examples of properties, office properties within our own portfolio that have been on different asset management journeys?
So roughly around a third of the portfolio is attributed to the office sector. So examples of our key office holdings include 7 Grand Canal, 18 Lower Leeson Street and Zurich and Trident House in Blackrock. Zurich House was a development which we undertook in 2019, which involved the demolition of older office accommodation and the development of brand new Grade A offices extending to around 75,000 square feet. The offices achieved a LEED Gold accreditation and an A3B or Trident House, which adjoins Zurich House, was extensively renovated and also has an A3B or. Both buildings are leased to Zurich.
We're here today in 18 Lower Leeson Street, which is obviously a fantastic location, just a stone's throw from St. Stephen's Green, and it's just been on a redevelopment journey. So Natalie, can you tell us about the journey that the property's been on and also the tenant demand that you can see coming through?
This is a redevelopment which we completed towards the end of last year. It involved an extensive redevelopment where we retained the existing facade, added a further 4,500 square feet, which increased the overall footprint of the building to 25,000 square feet. The building is finished to a LEED Gold standard and has an A3B or rating. We talked earlier today about fulfilling tenants' requirements, whether it's through location, design, specification and sustainability, and we believe that 18 Lower Leeson Street speaks to a lot of that. We've just completed our first letting in the building to Falco, an aviation company who've just commenced their fit out. This is a key accomplishment for us and sets a positive tone for the building and is in line with our business plan. As well as that, we've just agreed terms on the lower ground floor, so the combined we will now have the building around 40% let.
Fantastic. And when you talk about the letting up activity, it's great to hear that, Natalie. I suppose within hopefully the next couple of weeks, the building will be 40% let. Obviously that will improve the income statistics, so the weighted average unexpired lease term of the fund, obviously the yield of the fund, and all of that also plays through into the capital value and again then ultimately into the unit price for the customer, which is an excellent outcome. So to summarise the conversation we've had today around the office sector here in Ireland, there's a few key takeaway points. While there has been some negative publicity around the likes of the tech sector and them reducing perhaps their requirements here for both the labour force and related office demand, it's great that we're seeing some diversified demand coming through from different occupiers, such as aviation, as Natalie touched on earlier, financial services, the law firms and indeed the public sector. Again, while we've seen some negative news around interest rates, as we're all too familiar with, we are also seeing some positive news around the wider economy. So in terms of our GDP performance, which is fantastic, outperforming Europe and indeed our UK neighbours, and also unemployment is very low. It's lower than it was before COVID. So again, some very positive statistics there coming through. When we look at the tenant demand, location is obviously still very high on the agenda, but we're seeing new demand drivers coming through, things like flexibility in lease term, amenities, and top of the agenda for both tenants and investors is sustainability. It's obviously hugely important for the environment, but it's also very important for our fund in terms of long-term performance. For more information on the Aviva Irish Commercial Property Fund, please contact your financial broker.